Well, looking at you all brings back memories for me when I first came in. Very daunting. I was scared, nervous, just like you guys are. And you're probably wondering what somebody like me at my age, is still doing in UL. But I'm actually quite new to it because I only graduated this year. I didn't even think I would make it as far as graduating. And I couldn't believe then that I would continue on to a master's program. So it was very exciting. I chose to come in, well, that's where I am right now. And perhaps we might need to look at sort of how it all began. And I was widowed. I had been widowed about 5 years, and I kind of thought I needed to make changes in my life. I was just filling my day with, not so much with rubbish, but I was meeting people for coffee and going shopping and going into Dunn's and buying a top and maybe watching Coronation Street in the afternoon. And there was nothing fulfilling, and I knew that I had to make changes in my life. And I was lucky, financially I was lucky in that I got a SUSI grant because I was a widow living alone, and I qualified for that. So that was an impetus to come to college in the first place, that, coupled with the fact that I really, really wanted to learn, I just didn't want to sit around anymore unfulfilled. That was the basis of my reason coming in. One of the issues that I thought was very interesting, I had to do the mature student interview because I didn't come in on the Access program. So I had this interview, and it was a bit daunting because, they gruel you and they kind of say, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can do that? And one of the things that they really mentioned were time constraints. And I'm sure you've all experienced, especially those now of you who are doing the Access, how you have to manage your time and organise yourself. And when I think back, I was a bit disrespectful at the interview, and Dr. Owen Worth was asking me how I would, fit my life into UL and about time constraints. And I said, look, of all the people you're going to see, I am the one with the least time constraints. I don't have a husband, a lover, a toy boy, a dog, a cat, or a goldfish. I said I have all the time in the world to devote. And I'm lucky in that respect because, as the other speakers will probably tell you, coming from different perspectives, I didn't have to deal with children, grandchildren, teenage children who'd sort of be ringing you up all the time saying, when are you coming home? A spouse who'd be sort of saying, what's for the dinner? All these constraints that people had. I didn't have any elderly parents that I had to look after. So I was very free, and from that point of view, I was very, very lucky. So then day one when I came into college, I stupidly bought a new pair of jeans. Now there's nothing that sets you out. First of all, it's being an old person, and secondly, it's wearing a new pair of jeans. Came into day one, came into the classroom, did a little reconnaissance, and of course I was the only person really of my age. There was what I would call the young, the in-betweens, and the old. And the young to me were a lot of people, I'd say like you here today, 23 plus, the lower end of the mature student spectrum. And then there were quite a few, and this was the most interesting group I found, the ones between maybe 35, 45, a lot of whom have graduated this year with me now. And they said the reason that they had come back was many of them had been made redundant, and they felt they were young enough to study and get into a new career. And they were inspirational because these were the ones who had the cranky spouses and the teenage children and, difficult financial worries. Many of them had a long commute, and I found those people very inspirational. I, on the other hand, had it easy in terms of my personal circumstances, and I live across the road, so I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff. So I came in anyway, and the workload initially was daunting, as you would have seen now in your Access program. You all have assignments due this week. This is week 12. We're all struggling. We're all pulling our hair out. And I had the same thing, and I was really concerned as to how I was going to manage. But the one thing that I learned, people say to me now that I've graduated this year, what did you learn in UL? What did you learn about politics and international relations? And I said the main thing I learned was discipline. And some of you may have experienced that. It was the discipline to attend all the lectures. And I think I did my degree in 3 years. because I got an exemption from third year from doing co-op and Erasmus, because I had, because of my age, I suppose, and my life experience, I had years of working behind me, and I also had lived in many different countries, so I had the experience of working and living abroad. And for that reason, I got an exemption from third year. So my degree was, was in a 3-year period. So in that 3 years, I missed one lecture. I mean, that is a record. And I was very, very sick that day. And I had a lot of 9 o'clocks. And but I really have to say the main thing is time organisation and discipline. And I really felt that it paid off in the long run, because when it came to doing exams, I was, sitting in exams, and I was able, when a question appeared, and I was kind of thinking, God, I don't really know what that is. I wonder what it was. And I could actually visualise the lecture and the lecturer talking about that topic, and it really helped. So the one thing I would say to you all is be disciplined, make the time to come. Not like a lot of the younger ones who were always kind of hungover, especially on a Friday morning, and chose not to show up for the lectures, and I felt that they were at a disadvantage. So I studied politics and international relations. I chose that because I knew very little about the political world. I wanted to learn about politics in America, in Africa, and in particular, I wanted to learn about the European Union, because it impacts so much on all of us. I mean, everything we do nearly is governed by laws and directives and recommendations from the European Union. And I wanted to learn about that. And I just also wanted to learn too about the public administration aspect of it, in terms of how the Irish government operates and governance in Ireland. And it really opened my eyes to, not just to Europe, but to how the local authorities operate here in Ireland. And I think that maybe when I finish my master's, if I'm still upright and whatever, I might look for some kind of a position with the local authorities. I find public administration a very, very interesting area. So first year was difficult, because in first year, I think in any of the disciplines, it's very broad. And what I did was, and I would recommend this to everyone, I did it in first year, second year, third year, and I did it now in my master's. I shopped around. I went to every single one of the modules that were on offer, so that I would get a sense of what really interested me. And then, and at the end of the first week of every year, or in every term, you have to decide, you have to register for your particular modules. And having shopped around, it gave me a real idea of the content and the type of lecturer, and whether it would suit my agenda or not. And that is something that I would really, really advise you all to do. The other thing that I found particularly helpful in UL, and which I availed of every single one of them, were the supports. The lecturers themselves were extremely supportive. They have, every lecturer has office hours, and you can go and see them during those office hours. And I found that most of them were very amenable to meeting you outside of office hours. If you had a conflict of a timetable or something, they were willing to meet you. And I thought, God, these guys are great. These people are really busy. They have huge workloads themselves. And yet, I think without exception, I was able to see them, whenever I could, if I couldn't make the office hours. So that was really important. And the other thing that was, oh my God, the computers, the internet technology, because of my age. Like, I grew up with a typewriter, and carbon paper. Does anyone know what carbon paper is? Where you want to make a copy of something and you put the carbon paper between two sheets. Oh my God, I mean, it was prehistoric. So I had difficulty with the technology, but UL had huge support. And would you believe that every single day, Monday through Friday in the library, the technology department have a clinic, and you can go there between 2:30 and 3:30 any day, and they will help you. Like, it is just, the supports are just unreal. There's counselling, of course, medical centre, but another great help was Rona and Lucy in the mature student office. If you were feeling a bit down, you could go and talk to them. They ran coffee mornings. You got the opportunity to meet with other people. And that was important, that you wouldn't isolate yourself, that you got to meet other mature students from across all the disciplines in college. So what would my advice be to you after nearly 4 years? I'm about now into my 12 weeks now of my master's, my advice is don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone try to tell you that you're too old, or you can't do it, or you won't be able, or it's too hard. Don't listen to any of that stuff, because none of us, ever stop learning, and really a degree is a huge passport to opportunities in life. So what can I say to you? I would just say, come to UL, come open your minds, let your minds be open to come experience, new opportunities. Come hang out with a variety of people, from different backgrounds, people from Ireland, people internationally. Come and join a society or a club, get active. Do not isolate yourself, but whatever you do, come. I guarantee you it is the right decision, and it is one you'll never regret.